One day you look at a manager of a football team, especially a Premier League football team, and that manager looks like he's a man down, completely forlorn, looking like he's defeated. And then the next day you look at a manager and he comes back all defiant and presenting himself to the world that he's in complete control. And that's exactly how Nuno Espirito Santo came across in his Nottingham Forest pre-match press conference on Monday. It was only 24 hours before that all the press and social media columns, and even I reported on it, were suggesting that Nuno was one match away from being sacked. Lose against Nottingham Forest and he's gone. But that's not how Nuno came across in his press conference on Monday. He wanted to make it abundantly clear that he's in full control of what's happening at West Ham United, especially with the squad, and that the board is backing him all the way. In fact, I got to see a response from the senior source questioning someone like Jacob Steinberg, asking how does he know what's going on in the club? And that the rumour of Nuno being on the brink of a sacking was pure rubbish. The response went as far as saying that the two strikers were Nuno's choices, and why would the club spend anywhere near £50 million if they were about to sack the manager? Now, Nuno wanted everyone to know, everyone in that press conference to know, to be under no illusion that he is the decision maker for shaping the squad that he believes will get us out of the mess that we're currently in. And with the two signings already done within the first week of the transfer window being open, he was adamant that our transfer business is not over yet. Now, whether you agree with Nuno for signing strikers before defenders is, to be honest, a moot point. We're desperately in need of new strikers, as we're desperately in need of players to defend. I mean, you take your pick. Some fans would say that the striker situation is much more urgent, and others will say that the defender situation is much more urgent. But before we even get to defenders, our striker business is not actually done and dusted just yet. We've seen Fulkrug shipped out to AC Milan, Luis Guilherme has been sold to Sporting, and now Callum Wilson is destined for pastures new. However, the senior source went on to state that Wilson won't be going anytime soon, well, not until the new strikers are bedded in. Now, we heard only the other day that Nuno can be quite remote, quite distant with his squad. And I wonder if that is related to someone like Callum Wilson and maybe the other strikers that have left, maybe Guilherme and Fulkrug as well. When asked about Wilson in his press conference, Nuno confirmed that he had actually spoken to the striker on Monday to inform him that the squad role that he had in the squad had now changed because of the arrivals of Pablo and Tati Castellanos. Nuno said in the conference, me and Callum, we've had a lot of conversations, and just recently we were speaking about the situation, and he went on to say 2 strikers have joined, correct. I personally decided that these strikers had to join, and Callum is a very experienced man. He's been in the game so much, for so much time. He knows that his position has changed. That's pretty evident what Nuno means. Basically, Callum Wilson has gone from being the only striker at West Ham United to being third choice. Nuno said we were honest with each other. Yes, your position has changed, Callum, but you are still a player at the club, and we may still need Callum Wilson should he, should help be needed. So it's evident Wilson wants to go now that Nuno has made it clear that he is third choice. And let's be honest, people, he was always meant to be second or third choice in the first place. So Nuno really had no choice but to go and get a couple of new strikers. We've been screaming out for younger, fitter, and now under Nuno, we've got two younger, fitter strikers in the squad. I'm certain another Premier League club will be knocking on West Ham's door for Wilson's services before the window shuts. And I have no doubt that he will be gone within the next couple of weeks. So that's the attacking area sorted. Unless we get more surprises, maybe we're going to see a winger coming in as well. The Traore deal seems to have stalled, with Fulham claiming that West Ham haven't even made an approach for the player. So perhaps the rumour of Traore joining Nuno was just that, rumour and no more. But Nuno seems to be attempting what certainly I, didn't think was possible in any January transfer window. His aim is to completely revamp the squad. I've been saying for some time that I thought we'd be lucky to get two players at West Ham in this window. Well, that goes to show how I've grown accustomed to the fact that when a January transfer window is in place, we rarely see any action from West Ham United. And yet, here we are, where we may be on course to see the arrival of as many as 5 new players before this window shuts. But will it be too little too late? Well, perhaps not. If Nuno really is going to revamp, or as he calls it, rebalance this squad with as many as 5 new players, then that would actually provide him with a sizable chunk of players, a nucleus of players, to really make some changes, to really change the dynamics of how this football team runs. 5 new players can really make a lot of difference toward the attitude of the whole squad. They will be Nuno's players rather than someone else's. Nuno has been quite clear as to the type of characters he wants at the club. And when he talked last week about rebalancing the squad, he didn't just mean the balance in terms of options in certain positions, which are obviously crucial, but he also meant about rebalancing the mentality of this squad from one of a perpetual doom and defeatist squad to a squad that's going to be willing to fight for this club. And that will be as much a factor in the signing of players as is the positions they play in. As mentioned last week, and I repeated in my show on Monday, Pablo and Tati Castellanos are now our new strike force, and there is a defender and surprisingly a goalkeeper now on the horizon as well. Now, Charlie Creswell and Thiago Gabriel from Lecce are 2 central defenders who keep being mentioned over and over again. But as we've discovered, there's a queue of high-profile teams around Europe eyeing a possible move for Gabriel. And despite the apparent interest, West Ham have yet to make an official approach for Charlie Creswell. Now, for all I know, Creswell could well be a key target. But if he was, then why haven't we made an approach as yet? Which makes me think that potentially there might be another central defender in the pipeline that we've yet to hear about. But Nuno may surprise us again and not bring in just one central defender. He may decide to bring in 2. After all, apart from Todibo, who's injured at the moment, we're quite kind of struggling, aren't we, when it comes to our choice of central defenders. Now, I know a lot of fans are saying, well, why don't we give Igor a chance? But I think we kind of saw early on that he really isn't up to much, to be quite honest with you. So, 2 strikers, 2 central defenders, another keeper. I don't know. The list goes on, doesn't it? And that's another interesting thing. We've been linked to another keeper. On Monday, we heard that West Ham are interested in signing Al Nazir's Brazilian goalkeeper, Bento. Apparently, a loan with an obligation to buy offer of around £10 million has been made. Now, it's suggested that Bento will be a replacement for Mads Hermansson. Yes, kind of, but I'm not so sure Bento will be coming to replace Hermansson on the bench. When you're looking to sign a 26-year-old international goalkeeper, there's more suggestion that he will be replacing Alphonse Areola as our number 1, with Areola becoming Hermansson's replacement on the bench. That's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. But what about other signings? Well, if we look at how Nuno has sets up his teams, it's all about absorbing pressure and hitting the opposition on the counter attack. But to do that, you need pacey wide players, whether they be as wing backs or wingers. Pace is of the essence. I've already mentioned that we know the Traore deal probably is off, but he does provide the pace that Nuno wants. His end product, of course, is quite questionable. So, will Nuno try to bring in a wide player as well? But one thing is certain, apart from Pablo and Tati, who are now both eligible to play against Forest, Nuno has to manage with the pack that he still has. Question marks remain over the fitness of Todibo and Paqueta, so it is quite possible that the same defence that played against Wolves is likely to start again. One might suggest, with the game over by half-time, Nuno was quite smart in the second half by removing Potts and Magassa to keep them fresh for the game against Nottingham Forest when he took them off at half-time. I'm clutching, aren't I? But it's up front that's going to be interesting because Somerville and Bowen, again, haven't delivered of late, but perhaps they'll have a new lease of life with a new striker to play alongside. And we may see either Pablo or Tati making their debut. Despite being here just a day, I would suggest that it's going to be Castellanos to get the nod, with Pablo coming on as his replacement as a substitute sometime in the second half. So let's go over the team that's likely to start against Nottingham Forest on Tuesday evening. Areola in goal. I just can't see anything being different with the back four. I know Dinos and Kilman are a disaster, but I just don't think either Igor or Myers or Golombekis are going to edge out either of those two players. And then, of course, we'll have Walker Peters and we'll have Ollie Scarles as fullbacks. Magassa and Potts will regain their places in central midfield. And I think possibly you're going to have Fernandez playing a little bit out to the left, and with Paqueta, possibly. I think Paqueta will come back into the fold, and Bowen will be on the right. And I think Tati Castellanos will be the starter, will start this game on Tuesday night. He'll be thrown in a way, at the deep end. Look, it's a must-win game. I mean, they all have been, haven't they? It's must-win for Nuno. It's must-win for West Ham. If we do beat Forest and go a point behind them, and then with more players coming in, it's all to play for. I do hope this transfer business, this transfer window, doesn't become too little, too late.